Hey, what's up and welcome to Q&A, the show where I take your questions from YouTube, Twitter, everywhere in between and answer them here in video format. A couple of programming notes. One, please make sure you're subscribed to the Worst Take channel if you want to hear me talk about what the national media is talking about as far as all of football, all of NFL. My reactions will be on that channel, so subscribe to the Worst Take down there below. We're going to drop a video with Ace talking about, is Joe Burrow the future of this league? If that sounds interesting to you, hit that subscribe button. Well, click the link below, then hit the subscribe button, then come back to this video and then hit the subscribe button here. Also, if you want to make sure your questions can be on this show, featured here like everybody else's, make sure that you ask the questions on the community tab. The prompt is going to be up on Thursdays. I know I've gotten away from putting it up on Thursdays, but now it's going to be up there consistently. So please make sure you check that out. But without further ado, you guys have a ton of questions this week, so let's get into them. And this question comes from Tall, who says this: with Brissett liking to throw shorter, do you think he will use the tight end and run the ball more or often? And what do you think the wide receivers will be utilized enough to make the offense not easily predictable? Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. One, does Brissett like to throw the ball shorter? I guess, right? You're going to ask Brissett not to do all the complicated stuff that you would ask Watson to do. So in some semblance, that's true. But the question really should be, is Brissett limited to throwing short like Case Keenum was, right? And the answer to that is obviously no. Brissett is not limited to throwing deep. He has a very strong arm, so he can go deep, and I think defenses are going to respect that versus somebody like a Garrett Gilbert or somebody like a Case Keenum who can't throw deep. Those are two big distinctions I think need to be made out here. So I don't think the offense is going to be limited in that scope. They'll be able to run the ball and run the offense relative to what they were able to do when Baker Mayfield was out there. Hopefully they execute at a higher level or a more consistent level at the very least, right? So I think, yeah, our wide receivers this year going to have a massive year. Is this the year to start a Browns wide receiver on your fantasy team? No. But will they be utilized enough to make the offense not easily predictable? I would assume so. I have a lot of faith in Kevin Stefanski. I know some of y'all don't no more, but I do still have faith in Kevin. I think he was given a little bit of a raw deal last year. The next question comes from Joe, who says, hey, love the content with the running back room so crowded. Do you see Demetric Felton playing more as a wide receiver? I see Demetric Felton trying to make the team as a wide receiver. I don't know how much he plays, but I think that's his pathway to getting on the team. It seems like that's where they're running him at in OTAs. I think the ideal of him making the team as a running back is very far-fetched because Dearness Johnson, per PFF, was a top 10 running back last year, just in grade alone. He was one spot behind Nick Chubb. So you got 8 and 9, and that's just Dearness Johnson and Nick Chubb. You got Kareem Hunt, who was a former rushing champion and is still one of the best running backs in football. So let's say you have 3 top 15 running backs. If I'm being, and that's if I'm being non-charitable about it. If you want to be extra charitable, you can say 3 top 10 running backs just on the top 3 of the depth chart alone. Then you draft Jerome Ford in the top 4 rounds of the draft, which means that you plan for him to make the team. It's very rare that a team lets go a 4th round pick, let alone the Cleveland Browns, who have not gotten rid of a draft pick yet, at least this organization of the Cleveland Browns. I'm talking about the Andrew Berry, Stefanski era of the team. So it would be very rare that they would give up a 4th round pick. So the room is just crowded. And when you look at the strengths of the running backs, there is nothing Demetric Felton does that is better than any of those one running backs. And that's the issue there, right? He's good at a lot of things, and I think he's very talented, and I think he's going to be in the NFL, whether it's going to be with the Browns or not. He's going to be an NFL player. Like, don't get me wrong there. But when you look at this room, is he a better receiver than Kareem Hunt? I would argue no. Is he a better running back than Dearness Johnson or Nick Chubb? I would argue no, and I don't think he's probably going to be a better pure running back than Jerome Ford. I think Jerome Ford's also an underrated receiving threat, right? So when you look at the running back room, they're 4 deep. They're 3 definite deep, and they could be 4 deep. So Demetric's best chance to make the roster is wide receiver. The issue there is that if he's going to be a wide receiver, he's competing with Jakeem Grant. It's going to be a tough battle for him to win. So this is why I say Demetric has a bit of an uphill battle. Now, what does hold him up is that in his small sample size last year, he was not just good, he was spectacular. I think he had like an 88 PFF grade. But that's really what's holding him up. We'll see how he performs in camp. Ultimately, if he's good enough in camp and Jakeem's good enough in camp, they'll find a way to keep both of those guys on the roster, right? They're going to keep the best players on the team, and that's why each and every one of these roster spots that the Browns have this year are going to be very important because this roster is very deep. There's going to be some very good players that are not going to be able to make this team because of one reason or the other, and they're going to have to make some tough choices during training camp this year. This roster is no joke. The next question is from Rico, who says this. With the tight end situation being Justin Njoku and Bryant and the Brown system being tight end heavy, what are the other options if we don't have Bryant ready for a bigger role in the offense? I think it's important to make the distinction that I don't think the Browns are locked into one style of doing things. I think they went tight end heavy, especially last year, because they had low faith in the quarterback situation, especially towards the end of last year where we saw a lot of heavy personnel. And also they went tight end heavy, not just because of that. You can argue for that it was actually more of the fact that a lot of their tackles got hurt last year too, right? That's why they went tight end heavy, because they were down to like their 3rd string tackle on one side and a 4th string tackle on another side. You're just going to have to bring more tight ends to supplement that if you want any pass protection. So I think that had a lot more to do with the tight end heavy system they have now. The reason I don't think they're going to be as worried about that is because with Conklin coming back, with I'm blanking on his name, unfortunately, but he's been the swing tackle for this team for quite a while. With Hubbard coming back and with James Hudson looking like he's ready to take a step and Jedrick Wills being healthy, I think they feel confident that even if they get an injury, they could sustain an injury on the offensive line versus last year where they had no confidence that they could sustain an injury, so they brought in all these tight ends. So I think that's why you see the shift in the personnel room, right? There's a reason why Njoku and Bryant are really the only 2 real options they have as of right now at the tight end position. I know they're bringing in some camp guys, but nobody that's like a serious threat to get playing time is at that tight end position other than those 2. It's because I don't think they're going to be planning on being as tight end heavy as they were last year, because I don't think they think the circumstances that brought on that tight end heaviness is going to repeat itself in this year. So there's that. That's why I think they're that. But yeah, if Harrison Bryant gets hurt, whether they're tight end heavy or not, that's going to be a little bit of a problem, right? Because they have not a lot of great options behind Harrison Bryant. Next question comes from Wesley Johnson, who says, who is the next upcoming rookie or second-year player that is most likely to be a Pro Bowl? I think JOK is an obvious choice, and David Bell would also be one to have a huge impact with Brissett. So I'm going to go away from what most people are saying just because I think it's interesting to hear something new. And you guys don't come here to hear me say what everybody else is saying. You want me to say something new. Not saying that what that is not true, right? JOK, David Bell, I would expect they should be good this year. I'm going to go Grant Delpit. Grant Delpit is somebody that I think, a year after coming back from that injury is usually when players kind of blossom. If you look at Nick Chubb, right? Nick Chubb had that horrendous knee injury in college. He had that 1 year back where he split carries with Sony Michel. And in his rookie year in Cleveland, he was spectacular. That was like 1 year removed from the injury. A lot of players play much better 1 year removed because they're not thinking about the injury as much, and they're just playing football. So Grant Delpit is somebody who I think is going to be in position to make a huge impact, and I think he could make a gigantic impact. So that's who I would go with here as the next guy to be an impact player. The next question comes from Quentin, who says this. Let's say Watson is suspended for all the regular season, but is eligible to play in the playoffs. If Jacoby squeaks us into the playoffs, do we let Deshaun in the first game, or do we rock with Jacoby? Now, there's a lot of hypotheticals out here like this, so I wanted to put this question in here just to address them, because there's a lot of hypotheticals on, hey, what if Jacoby Brissett is holding this team down through 12 weeks, through 8 weeks, and Watson comes in? What do the Browns do? And I don't know why this is a hypothetical, but if Watson is clear to play and Watson is able to play, Deshaun Watson's most likely going to play, right? Now, if it's a situation where you get, let's say, even though this hypothetical I don't even think can happen, because I don't think it's possible for you to get suspended the entire season and play in the postseason. But let's say this hypothetical happens. If Watson and the Browns feel like Watson can go out there and play and he'll be relatively good, they'll put him out there because he's their best chance to win. No disrespect to Jacoby, but that's just the truth. And I think Jacoby would understand that. So there's that, right? He's going to play unless they feel like he is too rusty to throw out there. Then they might have him in as an emergency backup situation kind of deal. But if Watson is out there, he's able to play, then he's going to play no matter what point in the season that is. The Browns' future is with Watson. They've given Watson $250 million almost to play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. The opportunity that Deshaun gets to play, he's going to play. So there's that. What Jacoby can get, though, out of this season, so the reason not to feel bad for Jacoby is that this is a golden opportunity for Jacoby Brissett to get a fantastic back next offseason, right? Because he's going to be surrounded by a ton of talent. He has an opportunity to be on a winning team. And winning quarterbacks that are free agents tend to get paid very well. Jacoby Brissett is of the pedigree and of the talent level to where, somebody can believe in him to be a long-term starter. If they develop him and put the right things around him, they think they can get him. And he can get a nice bag in free agency to either be an elite level backup by the Cleveland Browns or, to be a starter for another team. So Jacoby's going to have a tremendous opportunity to showcase his talent to the rest of the league this year because he is only on a 1-year deal. This is a huge prove-it year for Jacoby Brissett. So I wouldn't sleep on Jacoby. I think he's going to be better than a lot of people expect, especially the people who are really down on him. I would expect him to be better. Next question comes from Michael, who says, if Baker is traded to Carolina and plays the Browns week 1, what do you think? Who do you think has a better chance of winning? The Cleveland Browns. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns, whether Watson's out there or not, right? Just because the Browns have a better team than the Carolina Panthers. If it was Jacoby Brissett out there versus the Carolina Panthers, I would say the Browns have the better chance to win. That doesn't mean they're guaranteed to win. It wouldn't be a cakewalk by any means, but I would think the Browns will win that just because I think the Browns are just a better team than Carolina, and I don't think Baker does much to swing the pendulum one way or the other there for Carolina for me to think that would put them over top of the Cleveland Browns as far as looking at this on paper. So there's that. But that's it for all the questions this week. I want to thank you guys for asking them. You guys have a great day. Have a good night.